Deborah is a he.
Of course.
Deborah is a he. Okay.
He, Deborah.
And I'll show you this just once because the zip will degrade over time that I do it more and more. But it's basically got a backpack that I can go into itself on. It can come into itself.
I wish I had one of those.
Me too.
Yeah, excellent.
If only I could crawl up my own arse, that'd be great.
Yeah, well,
oh, dear.
it's home sweet home on it.
Oh my gosh, that's great.
This is the kind of thing that we should. This is the kind of thing that we should have on the live stream, frankly, because it would be funny as fuck. But oh well.
I've got a shitload of teddies here. I can get them all out if you want. Got a pig.
Nice.
Another pig. I've got more pigs, but they're on the countertop over there.
Right.
Pig.
Dog.
And go live. Going live. Going live. We are here, and we can sing as much as we want to, as much as we want to. Ted is here, and so is Jonathan, and so is Deborah, and so is Lauren, and El the alpaca. He identifies as a he, and his pronouns are he, him.
Before we were using Monday.com,
now I need
our team was
to
drowning.
shut this other sound off so that we don't repeat back on ourselves. Shush. Well, welcome to the show. Can we confirm, please, that we have audio? Audio, confirm the audio. Anytime you feel like it, it'll be just a few ticks until they respond.
We do.
Very good. Very good. That's although we still don't hear much from Ted. Ted hasn't got much to say, and he's hiding behind the invisible penis, you see? The invisible penis. So let's introduce ourselves. We all know Ted and such. Let's introduce ourselves to Deborah and to Al, who are also joining us today on the live stream. Let's start with Deborah. Don't be shy, Deborah.
So Deborah doesn't say much. Deborah does have his makeup on today, especially. He heard Ted was in the building.
So Deborah is a he?
Deborah is a he, identifies as a he.
Mm-hmm.
And he has a backpack that allows him to actually go in on himself.
I wish I had one of those. Oh, I wish if only I could crawl up my own arse. And I know we did that before, boys and girls, before the live stream, but I thought we better have that on there because it was as funny as fuck. All right. Welcome, Deborah. Welcome to the show. And I do hope you enjoy your stay here. The rules, of course, are keep your arms and legs inside the vehicle throughout the ride. Let's meet El, the alpaca.
This is Tom. He's a he, and he loves to have fun.
Well, excellent. Does he have any means of crawling up his own arse?
He does not.
Oh, wow.
My dog
What does he do?
bite a hole in his back.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
The hole's deliberately made there for a certain reason.
He has a disability. Or perhaps, yes, as Jonathan suggests, perhaps he's been abused in some way. Oh, well, I'm sure he'll cope. Right, so now we're all acquainted. We can crack on with the show, I guess. Now, somebody is whinging about an echo, though. Not somebody. It's Rick. Rick, are you hearing echoes? I'm not hearing any echoes. Are you guys hearing any echoes?
Not me.
No, I'll play it from my end. You say something, Bart.
Check. 1, 2, 1, 2. Testing. Invisible penis.
Somebody is
Invisible penis.
No, I'm not hearing it.
Must be you, Rick. Maybe you're hearing it twice because, I don't know, you have superhuman hearing or something after 40 years as a carnivore. Perhaps that's what does it.
Apparently, it's just me and Lauren that's echoing.
Okay. That's interesting.
So I can't test that because I can't hear myself while speaking.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I don't know why that would be. There's no real reason why that should be happening.
Maybe because we're not using headphones and you are.
It could be that. Anyway.
I can chuck headphones on if it helps.
Well, we could give it a go, if you've got them. But otherwise, it sounds like it's not too bad anyway, so we can continue with the craziness nonetheless. Yes. Or Rick thinks it might be the iguana he ate. Is it like one of those Godzilla.
Where's the damn hole?
Is this better? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Check, check. Yes, very good.
Okay.
All right. Anyway, while we're organising headsets and whatever else, you know the drill by now, hopefully, and that is that. What you do is you write Q or the whole word question, if you like, and then you put a colon, and then you write what your question is for the panel, and then you suffix all of that with a question mark, and it makes it much easier for Ted to find and hit the right buttons. Ted is a bit, so we need to make it as easy for Ted as we possibly can with regard to the questions. And if we get those flowing, that will be great. And then we'll have something to talk about. In the meantime, let's see who is in the house. Apparently, Jonathan's here. Are you here, Jonathan?
That's a good sign. Definitely
good.
present.
Good. Present, correct. Shaya is also here. And it's afternoon for Shaya. It's fucking not even 9 o'clock in the morning for me yet on a Sunday. That's how much I love you all, and there's nothing you can do about it. Rick wants to hope that the sound is functional. Well, yes, it's at least functional that you can hear us, so that's a start. That's better than last week, isn't it? Bella's here. Good to see. Aggravator is in the house. Awesome.
Speaking of was an itch.
Yes. Well done. Well done, Jonathan. Yes.
Wow.
Is that a he, him, her, shim, sure, them, they, or attack helicopter? I don't know. Anyway, you're welcome. Mark, not first. Why were you not first, Mark? That's unacceptable, soldier. Next week, be first. Goodness. They just let anybody in here, do they?
Apparently so.
Hey, Soph. How you doing, lovely? Welcome to the show. Lance is in the house.
Lauren, that's my partner, in case you're wondering.
Yeah, in case you didn't know, Lauren, that's Jonathan's lovely. All right. Lance is here. Good. Yes. Christian. Hey, Christian. Who more do? The baddest cat is here. Tanya's here.
Yay.
Loud and clear. Love the dog.
So cute.
Love the dog. Yes. Gene Writes Music is here. Is that you, Gene?
Yeah.
Gene, is that Gene I know Gene that I spoke to this week, Gene, or is that another Gene? I don't know. That could be Gene that I spoke to this week. And if it is, hello. If it's not, hello. Rick's here. Axie or Axel. Is it Axel or Axie? I don't know. No, I don't look like Maynard James Keenan. No. He's a deal skinnier and a deal taller than me, and he actually can sing a bit. So, Catherine's in the house. Nick's in the house. Far from the trees. The audio is good. Far from the trees. Maybe that's what you should do, Rick. You should stand away from the trees, and you'll get good audio that way. Right. Okie dokie. Sheena's here. Awesome. And a bunch of other bigots. General Luke of the Meat Militia. General Luke. Late to class, were you, Luke? It says your first comment is at 35 minutes past. 5 minutes late to class, General Lucas. Ooh, I'm working. Yeah. Always excuses, isn't it? We love you anyway, Luke, and there's nothing you can do about it. In weeks to come, boys and girls, we might twist Luke's arm. He might be one of the panelists on the show as well. So, because he'll bring the sexy, he'll bring the Brazilian and the bronzed.
Bronze god.
Yes, and he will also talk like Ricky Ricardo and say, "Lucy, you got some splaining to do," and stuff like that. That'll be great. Looking forward to it.
Ricky Ricardo's Cuban.
Well, is he? Shows what I know. Dear, oh dear. Dear, oh dear. All right, we have a question. Very good. About time we had a question, and it's from Anders E. And Anders says, planning to compete in a 12-hour mountain bike race this summer. Well, that's very irresponsible. I'll stay carnivore until then. Would you recommend to do the race without eating anything? Jonathan.
Good question.
Yes.
It depends what your starting point is, Anders. So if you're someone that's doing a fast before that, yeah, you definitely need to eat, I think. I think you're probably kicking yourself in the face. If you're starting this and you're thinking, I'm going to cut loads of body fat first, be in a glycogen depleted or somewhat glycogen depleted state, then do the bike race, I probably wouldn't do it. You're trying to maximize your performance in this race, assuming it is a race, as you stated. So make sure you're fed. How soon to feed yourself prior to this, I'll probably test it out in advance beforehand. So it's kind of similar to me when I compete in bodybuilding. I'd find the amount of food that I need to eat to perform that specific sport activity. If it's posing on stage, it can actually use quite a lot of energy. So I would eat an amount to make sure I could fuel that performance on stage. And the same is true if you're doing any sport. So I'd trial and error it from this point to work out what you need in terms of beforehand. Now, it depends what time race it is. So if you're starting at midday and you're finishing at midnight, that will give you a time to eat in the morning. You can probably do some butter bites if you're desperate to get some nutrition in on the go as well. That might help. But just bear in mind what you eat is ultimately what you're going to be putting in your system many hours before that actual race. So make sure your baseline food intake is appropriate and adequate prior to actually doing the race.
Awesome. Very, very good. Very, 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 very good. What do you think, Doc?
I agree with him. I don't have much to add since it's going to be 12 hours that you're going to be consistently just going. Then, yeah, definitely. Yeah, I would use this time to see how long you can go. Maybe do some experiments on how many hours you can go in a fasted state with, like he said, the butter fat bombs with you and some salt as well. I actually recommend long distance runners to have some salt on them to put under their tongue. I also think it would be a cool idea. I haven't experimented with this myself because I don't run long distance. I don't run that much at all, but I thought it would be cool if you had those salt crystals and you could put it, especially women, but men too as well, in like your sports bra area somewhere where it's touching your skin, and see if your skin absorbing the salt while you're running and sweating and pulling it in, if that has any effect. I think that would be a cool experiment. Maybe put it in the back of your sports bra or right here, somewhere where it's touching your skin while you run for a couple hours.
Awesome. Very, very good indeed.
But you had a question. I think it hasn't come up on your feed.
Okay.
The question was directed to you, and it was, when Colton had you on last week, you mentioned carbonated beverages were bad. What's bad about plain unsweetened sparkling water? Wicked hair, party on wane, low.
Right. Okay.
Especially about the carbonation.
Yeah, the carbonation can be an issue in that, number one, it will basically punch a bunch of carbon dioxide into your stomach that isn't naturally supposed to be there, and that can cause issues in terms of mechanical function and all of that. It can have an effect on pH, at least transiently, meaning for a short time. And chronic intake of that kind of thing can possibly, in certain circumstances, lead to the leaching of minerals and things from the body as well. It's an individual call as to whether you want to drink carbonated water or not. If for some reason you just feel like you need something different on the odd occasion here and there, I wouldn't bitch about that too much. I just wouldn't do it all the time personally. That's just my take on that. What do you guys think on that one? By the way, thanks from Anders from Germany. You're welcome. Very welcome. I just also want to say before we answer that, look, there aren't too many things that I personally do for 12 hours solid, to be honest. And I don't really know why you'd want to cycle for 12 hours solid, other than because you can, I suppose. Physiologically, endurance sports, I don't think are a great idea. Long term, maybe get yourself across to something a bit more high intensity, short lasting. Get it done expeditiously. Your exercise is what I would say. Anyway, right. So let's get back to others' thoughts on carbonated beverages. Let's start with Lauren. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think if every once in a while you just want to switch it up and enjoy a little bit of a carbonated beverage, that's nothing to worry about whatsoever. It's like once every couple months or something, once every 6 weeks. But it's definitely, I would not recommend adding it into your regular diet on a daily basis whatsoever. Absolutely, because it definitely interferes with calcium and magnesium. Two big ones that you really don't want to fuck with.
Yep, absolutely. Right. Jonathan, anything to add on that?
Yeah, I'm probably thinking the same. Obviously, depends on the level of carbonation itself. I know it does tend to taste like crap. I don't like it.
Right.
I drink just plain mineral water or alpine water, and I quite like that.
Very good.
Occasionally, I have like a can of Pepsi Max, which probably isn't going to kill me, but I wouldn't recommend someone do it. I just quite like it.
Hand your fucking card in, son. Hey, what are you doing?
Yeah, I agree. Whenever I try it, if like my mom likes carbonated water sometimes, and so she'll have it, and I'll take a sip. Every time, even since I was young, it really hurts my throat. It's painful for whatever reason. I don't know why, but the bubbles really hurt. It's not fun for me.
Yeah. That's
Lauren's sensitive to bubbles.
Yes. I'm sensitive to bubbles. Yeah.
Yes, don't give Lauren too many bubbles. That is the take-home message. All right. Robert clearly wasn't around a couple of weeks ago when you were. So, first of all, Robert, assuming Dr. Lauren's gender, assuming the gender. Goodness, that's hate speech. Yeah, all right. For those that weren't around, perhaps Dr. Lauren can introduce herself briefly once again.
Hi, I'm Dr. Lauren Schwartz, and I'm a licensed acupuncturist. I went to school in San Diego, California, got my master's and doctorate in acupuncture Chinese medicine from the school in San Diego, like I said, Pacific College of Health Sciences. And yeah, I'm also a certified personal trainer and strength and conditioning coach, and I got those certifications to supplement my license to practice medicine, because as a holistic doctor, people are coming to me mostly for pain, but regardless, whatever they come for, my prescriptions are strengthening, stretching exercises, diet, lifestyle changes, investigating what the root cause of the issue is. I use herbal medicine, obviously Chinese medicine, but that goes into diet as well. And so that is who I am and what I do.
Awesome. Very good. And everyone knows who Jonathan is, surely.
Is that geezer with stupid glasses on?
Right. Well, no, it's actually a very good idea after dark, and I get it. I guess that it's after dark in the UK right now. So,
yeah.
Yes. All right, Sarah's got lots of echo. Oh, as I say, I don't know why you've got echo. That's something I will look into during the week. At least we've got sound at all, Sarah. So that's a definite improvement. We're still working on the processes, I would say, in terms of all of that. So yes. All right. Right. Race time, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Yes, very good. I'm not quite sure why we needed that extra bit of information, but we'll have it. Why not? All right. Okie dokie.
I think that he's trying to say, like, if he's going to eat something beforehand, is he going to eat something beforehand if it means he's going to wake up earlier to fuel himself before a race? I'd probably suggest just eating a decent meal the night before if he's going to do it that way.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, very good.
Don't sacrifice sleep for the sake of,
No.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. Okay, so I'm seeing some questions starting to pop through, so that's good. Well done. So Sebi wants to know, is bottled water preferable to tap water? I've heard concerns about microplastics. Right, who's first? Jonathan.
I'll probably have a different viewpoint to both of you, but I'm open to a discussion about this at some point. I think microplastics, generally speaking, are inert. However, if you put something in your system that isn't naturally occurring to the system, i.e. it shouldn't be in there, then it probably can cause some damage. Does it have a xenoestrogenic effect of some sort? Maybe. it's not something I looked into hard enough to really have a clear answer for in that one. But I mean, tap water, has it got fluoride in it? Is that going to be bad for you? Maybe. I don't know. I know Bart has an individual process he uses to extract water from the system, so he'll probably provide better answer on this sort of thing than I can.
All right. Lauren.
I think that also, if you look into the pipes that your tap water is coming from, that can come with many extra heavy metals and minerals that you don't need to be ingesting from your water. You should be getting it, heavy metals from nothing, but minerals and vitamins from your food only. So there's that concern. Bottled water, I think if you look at to how it was stored before you start to drink it, where it was stored, for how long it was stored, that's when the question of microplastics start to come in, especially if it was sitting in somewhere hot or where the temperature changes from hot to cold. Then the microplastics, I do believe, leach into the water, and then you ingest that. So
yeah, okay. Personally, I don't end up drinking a lot of bottled anything per se, really. Mostly because the vast majority of fluid intakes in this house are water, basically. And we're in a situation here where all our water actually comes direct from a creek that runs through the property. It's a natural water source. We don't have municipal water with fluoridation or any of that kind of nonsense whatsoever. And as such, because we get it straight out of the stream, basically, it's pumped up to a holding tank up on the hill, and then gravity feeds it down to the house when we want to use water. What we do is we run all our drinking water through a reverse osmosis filter just to take out anything nasty that might be in it. Then, if we feel like it's necessary at any given time, if we feel like for any reason that's a good idea, what we can do is add electrolytes back into that water before we drink it in a very small amount. But pretty much we don't. I add electrolytes by virtue of putting salt on pretty much everything I eat fairly liberally. And that seems to keep it all on the up and up here for me anyway. So that's what we do. And it's a good thing, I think. It's a good feeling to know that I'm not drinking any of that chemical shitstorm that people in the city are drinking, and it gives me a sense of moral superiority. And I can look down my nose at all of you municipal water drinkers and go, "Ha! You drink that stuff, do you? Oh, wow, bloody hell," and stuff. Okay.
I also think actually that one could argue that some certain bottled waters, depending on that brand, it could be tap water and they just put it in a bottle.
Yeah.
So there's that.
Yeah.
So I
there
would.
Was a brand.
What I do is just use a stainless steel. I have my own stainless steel and I have my reverse osmosis, and that's where I get my water. I have a huge stainless steel if I'm going, somewhere where I'm going to need gallon or two.
Very good.
Egg. There you go. Here.
Awesome. All our dogs are going nuts by the sound of it. Sorry about that for the viewers if you hear barking in the background. It's just my dog, George. Just adding on to that point, I know in the news about 15 to 20 years ago, there was a brand of UK bottled water that was actually tap water. Begins with B, I'll say that much.
Okay. Yep.
So, yeah, it does happen. Legislation is strict, but it can only go so far, I think, when it comes to, food and things like that.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. Question for me. I feel important. What are your thoughts on kefir double fermented? Friend is trying to get me on it. I'm completely ambivalent to kefir and fermented dairy and all that, whatever. It's like, okay, if you enjoy it, if you think it does you good, if you swear by it and it's not broken, don't fix it. That's fine. If you want to try it, see what it does for you, if anything. For me, there's nothing special about it. I don't think it's necessarily helpful. In some cases, it might be. But, everything you need nutritionally is in meat. In fact, dairy is plus or minus. Dairy is something that you can choose to add to your diet. if that's something you want to do. Lauren, do you have any different opinions on that?
Yuka is still barking a little bit, but as a mailman, so.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
He needs shouting at.
I agree. I think if your kefir and any type of fermented food could help you as you transition into a better diet, into carnivore, keto, into a less variety diet, into this more human appropriate diet. As you transition, you could use fermented foods to help just kind of supplement your microbiota. But I agree with Bart. Once you do transition and you have your more simpler, correct diet, then it's not something you necessarily need. Again, like dairy, if you do enjoy it, then cool. But I think it could be used as a type of supplement medicine as you transition.
Yep. Excellent. Of course you agree with me. That's the rules here on my channel. Anyone that doesn't agree with me is guilty of hate speech. So, Jonathan, tell me how much you agree with me.
I think it's excellent advice from both of you, and I've got to agree.
Of course you
do. I think what Lauren said about it being like a tool almost is sensible. It is kind of supplementary. It's not a necessity. Your body will eventually sort itself out. But I think there's some cases, something to be said for trying to expedite some results sometimes. So I had antibiotics, which I did not approve of post-surgery, and they have left me quite unwell, different ways. I can kind of demonstrate different illnesses that would not have otherwise happened as a result of using them. So I've been using fermented foods to bolster up my, probiotic bacteria in my gut. I think different ones work better or worse for different people. I know for myself, if I do kombucha or what's the other one, the one with like spices in it, it's like sauerkraut, but it's not.
Yeah, I know.
Kimchi.
Yeah, that's it.
Kimchi.
Yep.
Yeah, that messes me up big time. But then milk kefir works perfectly. Yeah, you got to find the right one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could be the cabbage. You're quite right, Lauren. I think. Yeah. Yeah, sulforaphane and all that kind of nonsense. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Not sulfurous.
Yeah. Indeed. Do you know what we haven't done so far today?
Oh yeah.
Invisible penis, invisible penis. This is an invisible penis, and it's an educational song. Invisible penis, invisible penis. There's an invisible penis, and no singing. Right. Question, this one's probably best dealt with first and foremost by Jonathan. This one's about training. And I'm not saying that it's best dealt with by Jonathan first, other than just because I decided that was the order for this question, of course.
I was going to say, Lauren's got some decent qualifications.
Yes, she has. I'm not. That's why I'm quickly making sure that we all understand that Lauren also knows what she's talking about very much. I'm just saying this question, Jonathan's first, because I decided that. Right, off you go.
I've got to wait for the question to come back. There we go. What exercise is best for a young, healthy individual? Is a gym required, or can free weights alone suffice? Additionally, can you provide general guidance on effective and safe exercise practices? What exercise is best? Probably a pulling movement. So that could be a horizontal row, a horizontal pull, and a vertical row, and a leg press or not hack squat, or a squat of some sort. Very quite useful. Other things can be useful as well, like a deadlift maybe. Depends what the goal is. If you're trying to become a bit stronger, get more sports performance, if you're trying to be good at a particular movement, you have to do that particular movement. If you're just doing it to feel a bit better and get a body, then yeah, you're probably going to benefit from being more specific with your training. In terms of can free weights alone suffice, I think a lot of people benefit from doing free weights alone at the beginning. Just gives you more bang for your buck. Means you're going to spend less time in the gym. You probably will benefit from recruiting more muscle fibers overall as a result of doing that sort of thing. As time goes on, you might find you can kind of isolate things a bit more. So it might be that you're doing, say, a full body split 3 times per week. You might then find, I can't recover from this anymore. I've got to advance to my training, my exercise performance, how you perform the movement becomes more strenuous. You get better at activating muscle fibers. So you might then split that more. You might then move to a, I don't know, upper lower split, then maybe a body part split. But these sort of things are incremental, so they're not something you just jump in because you think, I've done a week of this, so I'm going to do the next thing now. So phase in and out of training specifically and appropriately. Don't rush into changing programs. General guidance on effective and safe exercise practice. Ideally, if you can, make sure you have a personal trainer or someone that is relatively experienced to actually look at your performance. So I see a lot of people doing deadlifts and they've got an arched back, the neck's all over the place. They're looking at the bird next to them in the gym. The feet aren't planted on the ground. They're wobbling everywhere. Their hips are uneven. They might have straight legs when they need slightly bent legs. All these different things can happen. Make sure you look back at your own training. Now, you'll have your own specific body mechanics, which may mean that some exercise might work a bit better for yourself than others. I'm lanky as hell, so some things just don't work very well if I want to target certain muscle groups, so I have to kind of change things a little bit. Now, saying that, safe practices, I believe you should focus on recruiting the muscle fibers you're trying to work accurately. So there's no swinging, no momentum. There has to be an element of control. Make sure you're kind of matching the machine if you're using a machine in terms of its resistance profile. So, for example, if you see a lat pull down, or even a shoulder press, say shoulder press it's got a bar like that, say starts here and ends here. Maybe you don't go too wide, also don't go too narrow. So look at your own body's shape. So it might be like you're trying to go for a right angle maybe, and make sure that kind of matches what feels right for you. So if you notice you're trying to activate your shoulder muscles doing that movement, and you're getting a lot of elbow pain or tricep sort of recruitment, you want more shoulder recruitment, you might then space that width out slightly. So there's hundreds of things you can go into. What I would suggest you get a proper outline of what you need is to consult with Bart. He has a link below this video, I believe, and he'll be able to outline a proper program for you so you can actually do it safely, be specific to you, and that's probably the best guidance I can give. What do you think, Laura?
Can I just see the question again?
Yes. What exercises are best for a young, healthy individual? Is a gym required, or can free weights alone suffice? Additionally, can you provide general guidance on effective and safe exercise practices?
Yeah, so definitely a gym is not required in the beginning. It also definitely depends on where you're coming from. If you have really never moved that much in your life, or if you're young and healthy, have been playing maybe organized sports since you were younger type of thing, and you already have a good sense of body mechanics and mind to muscle connection. So it depends on where you're coming from and then where you want to go, what type of goals you have. But in general guidance of effective practice and safe practice, I think that you can start with just calisthenics, meaning using just body weight exercises, push-ups, pull-ups, squats, lunges, things of this nature, sit-ups, and really work on, if you aren't somebody that has a great understanding of form and, mind to muscle connection, really work on connecting with that muscle that you are trying to use in the certain exercises. Do a type of HIIT training, kind of interval training, where you're working those exercises and then just strengthening muscle with your body weight. Then you can progressively overload with dumbbells. I think free weights are great because once you understand the form, the very specific form, and that's something you should start with when you do calisthenics, body weight calisthenics. The body weight exercises really work on form and understanding what part of your body are you using and keep your mind to muscle connection there. And then once you really understand that and you feel it in your body start to get stronger, then you can use the free weights to then further use your core in everything you do, regardless of if you're doing a squat or a lunge. Really, that movement is always coming from the center out. And then you can go from there, progressively overload. And then I think in terms of step 1, 2, 3, the third step can then be in a gym and the machines. I definitely, as a beginner, would not straight go to the machines because you can just start to use the machine without any type of muscle-mind connection, and then you're just kind of throwing things around. Then you can propensity for injury. And going back to the very beginning, you should definitely consult with a professional, so then they can help you sequence and then learn where your standpoint is, and then go from there as well. And they can work on your form with you, because a lot of people think that they have the correct form, especially if they're not looking in a mirror. It's totally off. And then if you start from there and you thought that was correct form, and then you start dumbbells, then everything goes awry and your structure starts to fall apart and you injure yourself, and you definitely don't get stronger. You make things worse. So.
Excellent. Really good. Really good. Yes. Ted says it's all about the pulling, and he's been having a tremendous pull. Thank you, Ted, for your input. Goodness. You can go back down under the desk there, I think, Ted, and continue twiddling the knobs. There's a good boy. Good boy. Ted is back to twiddling the knobs. And L, what do you think?
Al says he's very jealous of people that can do a lot of lower body strength, because really his nubs have a very hard time doing lunges and squats. He's really...
I can relate. I have a hard time doing anything lower body just now, more so than usual. I'm still recovering from a ruptured Achilles. I'm told it's going to take a while, which, is no real shock, I suppose, but there you go. All right, moving on swiftly. What are your problems with the moral argument vegans make in a hypothetical world where, let's say, one could be 100% healthy on a vegan diet? So we're not talking about whether or not the vegan diet is sufficient. Apparently, the question is about the moral high ground that vegans often take. Lauren, you're first.
So in the hypothetical world where one could be 100% healthy on a vegan diet, that just doesn't make any sense, because you can't, because there's no bioavailable micronutrients that you're absorbing.
Agreed.
So that just is paradoxical, I guess.
Yes.
And what are your problems with the moral argument vegans make, saying that it's bad to eat animals? That's also just some type of virtue signaling that has no root in the actual truth at all either, because there are so many reasons for that. And if coming from a holistic standpoint too, there is a cycle of things. We are living in a universe that everything has its place. We are one perceptually segmented part of a whole, and so we each are playing our own part, and that's what the food chain is. And everybody, what as a vegan, you eating the things that come out of the ground and off trees and everything, you're actually taking from the other animals that you're not putting into account, like squirrels and bunnies and the bugs, and you're also going into changing up the microflora of the earth. That has to do with the ecosystem. So then there's an ironic concept here, where a lot of vegans then are, talking about climate change and everything, when really, if you want to go there, you could say that they have more to do with climate change by messing with the flora and fauna of the earth, by eating what is not meant for them, and then taking from the other animals, but then, advocating for bigger animals. And it just all is the type of nonsense.
Yes. It's the circle of life. No singing.
Beautifully done.
Yes. Jonathan. Yes.
Gosh, you made me make a big mistake there, Bart.
I know. Jonathan.
That's the one.
Yeah.
That guy. I'll just keep it really simple. So I'd get the vegan individual to define what they believe is a sentient being. Then they'll then say, a cow is, a human is, a dog is, a cat is. I'll say, is a bird a sentient being? Yeah, a bird's a sentient being. All right. A fish? Yeah. All right. I don't know. An insect? Yeah, they're a living being. They're sentient, whatever. And I'd say, okay, how many animals each year are caught dead in combine harvesters, in plant-based agriculture in the US each year?
Billions.
I'd ask that question, then I'd say 4 quadrillion.
Oh, Jesus.
If they did some Googling, 4 quadrillion. That's an instant mic drop.
Oof.
End of. No discussion.
Right, we're done. Next. Good. Is there sufficient magnesium to be found in beef and eggs? Steak and eggs and eggs and steak. That's all you need for magnesium. Delicious. What do you think? No singing.
Yes.
Good.
Yes.
Yep. Jonathan, any disagreement? Not forgetting the rules on hate speech.
I can't go against those rules.
No.
I actually do think, there's no risk of deficiency of magnesium if you're eating beef and eggs, providing you're eating enough beef and eggs and you're not just eating like 1 gram of each or something stupid.
Yeah.
Yep. Exactly. Good. Pavel says, I heard it can take from 6 months to a year to get fat adapted on a zero-carb, moderate protein diet. What would happen if someone undertook to do something stupid, like a 40-day Jesus fast? I guess the question is probably, would that speed it up? I guess that's what the question is. What do you think, Jonathan?
I think it would speed it up if they were looking to do that. We know, for example, water fasting speeds up the rate of ketones within your blood because you're not putting anything in that. You're oxidizing your own fat to produce a fuel substrate. So that by default means your fatty acids in your bloodstream would go up to be oxidized as energy. I don't really. Am I stupid? I don't get the point of the question.
Yeah, I'm guessing.
Am I lost it?
I think that's the question. Yeah.
Okay.
But they're calling. They're calling it
Yeah.
stupid. Which it could be stupid or not stupid. But yes, it will speed up that, and definitely it can take 6 months to a year depending on where you're coming from. Thirdly, I think that if you do decide to do a 40-day fast and it's a complete dry fast, no water, no nothing, and also depending on where you're coming from, if you've ever done it before, now you're just really challenging yourself, your mind. And if you're coming from an addicted carb mindset, which the majority of us are, if you're switching, then you're just going to put yourself in a situation where you may just, break and then binge and then eat a bunch of carbs. And even if you go that 40 days, that 41st day might be a disaster.
Absolutely. Brilliantly done. Ideal reps and sets ranges if one is looking to gain strength but not hypertrophy. My take would be 2 to 3 times 12 for strength. And then you would probably, when you were peaking out, maxing your strength, then what you might actually do at the end of that is to do some drop setting and really get the absolute weight that you're lifting up near the end of the cycle. And then you'd be doing maybe 1 or 2 sets of 4 to 6 would be what I would do. Would either of you do anything different? Let's have Lauren first.
I think you could also try doing a Tabata or HIIT style session with
good.
3 to 5 sets of that, depending on how far you could go. And so you go to failure each time. So you're not counting the reps and you're doing like a medium to heavy dumbbell. And so you're not counting the reps. You're just going, 20 seconds, 10 seconds off, 10 seconds off, 30 seconds, 15, 40, 20, and do that about 3 to 5 sets and just go to failure.
Yes. Good. Like it. Jonathan.
Yeah, I kind of have a different approach maybe, but it's probably just how I'm interpreting the question. So if it's power, like you're trying to do a powerlifting meet where you're doing, 1 rep, you probably want to train at 1 rep. Now, strength exists in 1 repetition or 30 repetitions.
Yes.
So it could be that, you want to peak your 30 repetition strength. So you probably need to outline what your goal was in terms of like becoming stronger. Is it that you're trying to throw the hardest punch?
Yes, so is it absolute strength or strength endurance? Yes, good point. Very well made. Yes, excellent. I guess that's kind of why I said, well, we're going to do 12 reps and then peak out and at the 6 rep range, because I was kind of hitting both factors a bit. So yes, good point and very, very well made, I think there. Very, very, very good indeed. Regarding Patreon, what privileges and content would be available to me with the $10 tier? Furthermore, could you kindly provide information on how and where I could access said content? Yes, in terms of content on the Patreon website, there is a number of videos. I think there's about 50 videos or so there that are available only to patrons on the $10 tier or above. They are a course that is put together by myself and Her Majesty Pim, Queen of the Pirates. And it is basically an anti-anxiety course in which I deal with the nutritional side of things, and Pim deals with the psychological side of it. And so it's kind of like good cop and even better cop sort of situation. Guess which one is which? I'll leave that to your own imaginations as to who's the good cop and who's the even better one of the two of us. It's called anti-anxiety, but actually, ostensibly, what it really is anti-inflammatory. So it's actually applicable whether you're anxious or whether you're not. So that's what you get access to by way of video content. How do you access it? All the videos are listed on the posts page on the Patreon site. What you need to do is click on the box above the title of the video. It doesn't look like a link. It just looks like some text in a box, but it is clickable. You click on that. That will take you to the video host for those videos, and you will need to enter the pass code, which is also on the posts page of the Patreon site. So that's how you do it. Good. Right. Good. Thank you, sir, and guests. Yes, indeed. You're welcome.
Excellent.
You're welcome. Right. Question from Aggravator. Is the serum sodium level on a blood test influenced by the salt I add to my meat? I salt to taste, and my blood tests are always bang in the middle of the range. Same question for potassium. You don't get two questions. You only get one, bigot. Right. What do you think, Jonathan?
I honestly wouldn't be able to speak on this very much detail, really, but I don't think it would, in the sense that if you're eating too much salt, you probably drink more water, which would then have that diuresis effect. That would cause more sodium to be rinsed from the body, assuming you had too much. And as for potassium, my potassium levels typically range quite far above the normal or high normal side of the range that we see in blood tests. I have no health issues as a result of this. I've had extensive tests on this and heart scans, nuclear radiation tests on my kidneys, all the stuff. They said, this is your normal. So, don't always go by the exact ranges. They don't always apply to everyone. Is that because I'm a musculature? I don't know. Is it because of another reason? I don't know. But I probably look at it from that point of view.
Excellent. Very good. Lauren?
I agree. I think in terms of ranges, that comes from a untrusted source. So the ranges are meant, to put things in a box, and also which just the root of it is just doesn't really come from complete truth. So when you look at serum blood levels too, it's just a snapshot of how your blood was in that moment that you took the blood, and your body is constantly in vibration, moving. All of the minerals are always fluctuating. Your kidneys constantly filtering out. Your liver's always doing something. So I wouldn't really go by what the low mid range even is, and I wouldn't worry about it. I would go off of feeling and tapping into your body, and then understanding what you're doing on a daily basis. In terms of, like you said, you salt to taste, which is perfect, because your kidneys, your body will tell you whether or not you need more salt or you need less, or when you're thirsty, you drink. And that's really the short and long of it. You don't need to worry about the details in terms of serum tests.
Excellent. There you go. You got your money's worth. Do ablated cells eventually get replaced? Well, my take on that would be that the body will decide whether they need replacing or not, and what priority that takes depending on what cells have been ablated. So in theory and in practice, yes. Who's next? Lauren.
I think, yeah, probably. That's my answer. Done.
Right. Good.
Yeah. Your body is made to heal. It has everything it needs to understand what's going on inside and out of it. It will replace what needs replacing, and it will fix or not fix what doesn't need to be fixed or needs to be fixed. So don't.
Brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
And if you want to encourage the rate at which your body renews and repairs tissues, what you should do is go to the link underneath this video in the show notes and click on that bit.ly link there, and you will see at the bottom right hand of that page there is a link out to the fine folks at Cerule, and you should buy all their products. Billions of them. Billions of them.
All of them.
Yes, all of them. The lot. Not only is there stem cell encouraging nutrition, there's also circulation encouraging nutrition there. There's anti-inflammatory material there as well. Furthermore, there's skincare and collagen for those that are into that. It's all there. It's all good stuff. Get into it. Get into it in a big way. Yes, let's set a world record for sales on Cerule products this week, in the week running up to the annual conference of the Ceruleans here in New Zealand. That'll be great. Appreciate that very much. And that will also help keep the lights on for another week or so. All right. Oh, here's a good one. Here's a good one. Let's have Lauren first on this one, just because why not? What can I do at the gym with a frozen shoulder?
I would work on releasing your side of the body that the frozen shoulder's on, like your lats. So just work on dynamic stretching. I would use heating pad, red lights, and just release the muscles that are surrounding and underneath your shoulder. Don't work. Definitely avoid doing any type of anterior and middle delts type work, and do what you can do in range of motion, but I would work on releasing your lats. It's on that side. Yeah.
Awesome. Very good. Jonathan?
I agree with her. I mean, I read this as a question as if the bloke had, like, I don't know, literally ice blocks in his shoulder, because I'm a bit dim this time of night. Yeah. I only just thought of that when Lauren started answering.
How did you freeze your shoulder? Why did you do that? That's silly.
Take out the freezer.
Yes. This live stream is getting very silly, and I'd like to warn it not to get silly again.
I think I'll emphasize the best advice that Lauren gave, in my opinion, was that try and move the muscles around it in an active range of motion that feels safe to you. So the muscles around the shoulder are going to be teres, minor, some of the traps, maybe. I don't know, all that sort of stuff. The lats, of course, as well, because they're a big, bulky muscle below the actual shoulder itself. Get all that mobile. You might need to get some assistance from a therapist to understand what range of motion should be using. It's tricky to say, really. Without spending loads of money to sort of get it right the first time, you'll be doing trial and error to try and work out what's going to be useful for you. I'll be keeping it warm. I know that much. I know when I have any kind of joint issues, impingement, I'm looking at keeping that warm.
Yep. Okay. Like it a lot. Right. Pretty simple question. As long as you are fat adapted, your body should produce enough glucose for you to perform optimally, unless you're doing something stupid, like a 100-mile marathon, right? Yes. Yes, you're right. Good. Hello, everyone, and Professor Chad. Yes, thank you.
Oh, poor bloke.
Right. Is deeper ketosis and or just ruminant meat better for healing difficult illnesses? Interesting. Lauren?
It depends on what you mean by difficult illnesses, but I think as a general question, a general answer for the question of is deeper ketosis and eating meat from ruminant animals just better in general as a longevity standpoint, I would say yes.
Excellent. Good. Jonathan?
In terms of ketosis, I mean, it does depend on the illness itself. We know that if you're epileptic, if you've got cancer, even some studies in autism, they suggest a higher ketogenic ketosis level is probably better. That's what we see in some studies. You know, how well are these studies made? I don't know. But we can sort of ask a load of people that are in this sort of space online and say, you know, you had cancer, you had, I don't know, diabetes or something. What did you find was useful? And they'll probably often say, you know, if I've got a deeper level of ketosis, it works a bit better. I think tracking these levels individually is a bit redundant. I mean, if you're eating a carnivore diet with a sensible amount of fat, your hunger signals are met and they're appropriate, and you're not putting plants and sugar and shit down your neck, you're probably fine. That's probably going to be the main underpinning of the good diet itself for difficult illnesses. Yeah, you can measure these things. I know paleomedicine deal with people with difficult illnesses, and they seem to find that if they measure these things and they've got deep ketosis in their patients, and it seems to work better.
Yes.
But I don't know, Bart, you might think differently, I'm not sure.
No, I think that's great. I think you've hit the nail on the head there, both of you, in terms of, well, it really depends on what illness we're talking about as to whether ketosis is likely to have any impact or otherwise. So that's the main thing I would say. I would also add to what you were saying about what studies show, Jonathan, by suggesting also that it's very important for people to understand that studies also show that there is a very, very large correlation between not hitting the fucking like button and visits late at night from Yellow Ted with his bucket of soapy frogs and his small guillotine.
I've been getting lots of emails and anecdotes recently supporting this claim.
Yes, much anecdotal evidence to support this claim, that evidence does suggest not hitting the like button can be very, very injurious, because Ted will also bring his fluffy yellow truncheon with him as well. So, yes, just make sure you understand what the evidence does show in that regard. And if you want to avoid such things, just hit the like button. It's not difficult. It doesn't take any effort. It doesn't even cost you anything, for Christ's sake. Hit the button. Right. And don't forget to link this live stream out to all your social medias as well, because, well, how are we going to do the damage if people don't know we're here? Goodness. All right. Ooh, good one. Acne. Let's hear from Jonathan first, and then Lauren, because, I don't know, why not? What can produce an acne flare-up for someone on beef, salt, and water for 6 months? Maybe too much protein, not enough fat? What do you think, Jonathan?
I think there's too many variables at hand. It could be a simple hygiene issue. Then you have to determine, is it actually acne?
Yep.
You know, is it actually acne that you've got, or is it some other skin issue that's a result of oxalate dumping or anything else? You know, you need to sort of... This is a problem we have with YouTube. We can see messages, but we can't see the person. So this is why I'd advise anyone to have a consultation with Bart. They can actually see you face to face, and you could show, oh, this is my arm looks like, or a leg, whatever it is. And he'll be able to sort of say, you know, from my experience, this looks like this, and I'll be able to suggest you should try doing this. It could be too much protein. It could also be too much fat. It could also be changing your food sources up. It could be a change in your hydration, change of seasonality. Maybe you're sweating more or less. Hygiene is probably the main thing I can think of. That'd be most obvious, at least for me.
Excellent. Lauren?
Yeah, I think anything that comes up in terms of, symptoms like this, it's most important to consult a professional, a trusted professional that can help you investigate into what the root cause is actually happening, because they are well trained in how to look for that when you tell them your case. And I wouldn't just rely on you and Googling, number one. Number two, when you do switch to a human appropriate diet from a wrong programmed one, you can start to get kind of detox symptoms where your body is pushing out things that have been laying dormant or been chronic issues for a long time because of the diet and lifestyle that you had been living prior. So that could just be a cause too, but also don't just assume and Google and WebMD, just talk to a trusted professional, figure out what it actually is, identify what it is. Don't just assume that it is acne, like Jonathan said, and then you can go from there.
Excellent. Like it a lot. If I eat only bacon, eggs, and chicken with the occasional steak, will I be okay long term? Why are you avoiding steak, bigot? What's wrong with steak? Steak is fantastic. Absolutely, the basis of your diet ought to be steak and eggs. And eggs and steak. That's what you should have for your breakfast. Delicious. No singing. Jonathan.
Right. So will you be okay long term? The only way you can sort of prove causality of what's okay is what you define as optimal. So, for example, if you feel sleepy in the morning and that is your okay, you know, maybe reassess that. If you want to be sprightly in the morning, feel better, this is just one example of a different measurement you could use. That maybe something isn't okay. So you'd look at changing out to find out if it is okay or not. So you might find, okay, I'm eating 6 eggs a day, 2 rashers of bacon, 5 rashers, whatever, and I don't know, I think it's beef or something. If you're doing that, then you need to find out, okay, well, if I get rid of the bacon, do I feel better or not? No. Okay. If I get rid of the eggs, do I feel better or not? No. Okay. This is all trial and error. But what we know from hundreds, if not thousands, of anecdotes online is that people tend to do best with beef as the staple of the diet. Next, just from a affordability standpoint, the fact that it's quite easy to access for a lot of people. A lot of people have eggs as well. It's not a hard thing to come by. Then everything else is kind of supplementary, it seems. My diet will be different to someone else's. What I feel optimal will be different to what Lauren finds optimal or what Bart finds optimal. So you just got to trial and error it. And I could not give you an exact outline of what would be best for you in terms of being okay.
Yep, good. Lauren, anything to add?
Yeah, I agree. And I think when it comes to long term, you always need to look at the source and the quality of those foods, and especially with bacon and chicken, how they are raised and what they are eating, especially because of the type of animal they are compared to a cow. You need to take that into just identify where they're coming from, because in terms of long term, they can not be the most optimal thing to eat in terms of fatty acid profile.
Yeah, excellent. All right, while you're on it, Lauren, you might as well carry on and deal with this one next. Is it bad to eat later in the evening? I can only train after my office hours and eat after that. And in summer, that's often 8 or 9 at night.
No, not at all. I think you do whatever works for you, and how, again, like Jonathan said in the last question, how you actually feel. You experiment with yourself, and then what works for you and your schedule is what works for you and your schedule. We're all very individualistic in that sense.
Yes, we are all individuals. I'm not. Yes, that one. You're a very naughty boy. Oh, God. It must be early on a Sunday morning. Right. Love it. Love it. This Ted guy is disgusting. Why give him the attention? Well, he finances the show. He's the producer. He likes to twiddle the knobs. He's in charge. We are all enslaved to Ted, His Majesty Lord Edward Yellow. Everybody has to do what Ted says, or else it's guillotine time, or even worse. Perhaps it's the wetsuit with the bottom cut out and the release of the rampant wildebeest. You never know. Mm-hmm. Okay, right, where's the next question? Here it is. Fred. Fred asks, I saw on Ted's servant's meat prep counter a bottle of NAC. Does the Field Marshal use it? How much? Why? Doesn't meat give you all you can use? NAC is used in this house, yes. At the 1 tablet a day regimen, at times when it's being taken by me. Others in the house have their own schedules. I am currently taking 1 NAC a day because it's my thought that may be useful in supporting the process of healing the injury, which I'm working on healing. You know what I mean? Healing. Yes. And as such, I'm taking the full range of everything that may be useful in terms of that healing process, such as Stem Enhance Ultra Psi Active, Collagen Active, Plasma Flow, NAC, and also now I'm into the actual physical rehab portion of the healing. The acute injury is basically healed now, so now I'm dealing with the range of motion and re-innovating and relearning how to use the calf soleus muscle grouping. It's been a long road, and I say it's been a long road because that's how it feels, but actually I'm well ahead of schedule. Well ahead, because with a grade 2 rupture of the Achilles tendon, what I was told was that I could expect to be able to put my foot back on the floor at all about now, actually. And actually, I've had the boot off and I've been walking and starting to do bits and bobs of rehab now for, 6 weeks. I had the moon boot off in 2 weeks. And I put that down to my supplemental intake of stem cell encouraging nutrition. Of course, I'm not allowed to claim cause and effect, so I'm not. But I'm putting it down to that, in my opinion. So there's that one. Yes, I will, and I am. Thank you. I will get well soon. What does Elle think about that, Lauren?
Al knew, he had a sneaky suspicion that you were using it for your healing process, and it's a supplement for the time that you were experiencing at this moment, and it's not necessary for a long-term situation.
Correct. Yep. Correct. No, I wouldn't take NAC as a chronic thing to do. I don't think that's necessarily indicated. And in fact, there is some thought that it might even be injurious long term, although there's no evidence really that you could hang your hat on. There we go. All right, let's hear from Jonathan on this one first, and then Lauren, just cause. Is it true that some pasture land can't be used for producing crops due to the soil?
Yeah, so if it's land that's perhaps been monocropped, it's been pesticide, herbicide, rinsed to death, not been using regenerative methods, rotational crop, field, animal grazing sort of thing. Yeah, I can see that happening. Like Lauren rightly mentioned earlier, she mentioned about kind of like the cycle of life and that sort of thing, and how we're meant to work in time with the world and not sort of just take. We need to put things back in. So we do need to rotate the soil, and if we're not doing that, then yeah, it can reduce the quality of the crops. How long that takes, I don't know. I've heard something like 50 years until we've run out, supposedly, in terms of like plant-based agriculture, but I've not looked into it in enough details to really underpin a solid answer on that. What do you think, Laura?
That was actually I wanted to add in that vegan question, is that's an issue too, where because of the demand of all of these vegetarian and vegans, they're monocropping and having all of these farmlands mass produce kale and lettuce and all of these corn and soy and all of these things that they're mass produced on a large scale using, like you said, all these chemicals that are going into not just on top, but into the soil. That soil is then traveling into other adjacent areas of the land, and you're definitely rendering the whole area, just not usable and toxic for the animals that live around there. And then they eat that toxins, and then those animals, and then again, it's a food chain of toxin to toxin transport. So absolutely. And that's why it's important to eat a human appropriate diet where the animals are living naturally on pastured lands and they're eating the grass, and that grass is being, digested through their multiple stomachs and their bodies and their livers into a prominent source of food for the human being, and everything has its own process of living and dying. From the small standpoint to the larger standpoint. So definitely that question also reminds me of the movie Idiocracy. If you guys have seen that.
Yeah.
So.
Excellent. Also reminds me of Monty Python and the meaning of life, but that's for another day. Why are we here? What's life all about? Do we reincarnate, or is there some doubt? Tonight we're going to sort it all out, because this is the meaning of life. Da, da, da. No singing. Goodness, no singing. Right. Question. If you were to eat carbs, would it be better to eat pre-workout or post-workout? Let me deal with this one. Save your breath, everybody. Do not eat carbs. Okay? Carbs are bad. Okay? Don't eat carbs.
Yeah,
Enough said.
Yep, enough said.
Pre or post, you're going to mess up your homeostatic beauty.
That's it. Absolutely. Right. My satiety signal kicks in too early on the carnivore diet. How do you know? How do you know it's too early? I seem to derive more energy if I go slightly past this level. Any thoughts on this? Well, are you body composition stable? Is everything in your life the way you want it to be in terms of that? More information, Sarah. More information. Tell us more. Tell me more. Tell me more. Did you get very far? No singing. Goodness. It must be the hair.
Bring out the crazy.
Brings out the crazy. Exactly. Yeah. It must be the hair. Yes. Quite right too. Yes. Why would you feel bad doing the very thing that your ancestral gift dictates you must do?
I had to restrain myself from having an argument with vegan today. I was like, no matter what I say, so I was with people that were all animal based kind of. I was like, well, they're going to react emotionally in a minute, and there's going to be no point of me arguing with them. No matter what I say, they'll just tell me to fuck off. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to just restrain myself today, not get aggravated, and think I'm going to do my bit later with Bart for 2 hours and see what comes of it, and see that'll have more impact. More of my energy can be spent that way.
Jonathan, your growth is unbelievable. Yes,
big boy now.
Yes, you are. You. I've heard the tale. Soph told me. Yes. All right. What does your blue cerule drink taste like? Well, this is a bit of a long story, but we can make it short. What we're talking about is that stuff. Collagen Active, available from the fine folks at Cerule. Get it at the link underneath the bit.ly. Click in the bottom right-hand corner where it says get your Cerule products here. It is deathly sweet for someone whose palate is trained not to like sweetness. There is a very small amount, in absolute terms, a very small amount of sucralose in the mix at the moment. It's there to make the product marketable to the masses, frankly. And let's be honest, that's why it's there and no other reason. Most carnivores who have trained their palate not to like sweetness anymore will drink that drink and go, Jesus, that's sweet. And it is. Sucralose is 300 times as sweet as sugar per amount. So in terms of the assault on your body of the stuff, it's very, very small amount, but it will have an insulinogenic effect, I expect. Probably very mild, because the total amount of stuff you get in a sachet of one drink, and you're supposed to have one a day, it's really nothing. I take it every day, despite the fact that it's got that sweetener in it. But I'm also working very, very fervently in the background with the company. I've told them it needs to be gone. We need to get that out of there. They're not going to do that because of the marketability thing. But what I'm working on is hoping that if we build our consumer base large enough in the carnivore community here for Cerule products, that they will be happy enough to do a formulation just for us, which doesn't have the sweetener in it. And I'm really hoping that I can twist their arm to do that. I will be sitting down over the weekend coming with the owner of the Cerule company for a meal. And I will be rubbing shoulders with him and saying, Andy, come on, son. We need to get this bloody sorted out here. We need a non-sweetened version of the collagen. So I will report back next week on what the feedback is likely to be. Angelic Annihilator, thank you very much for the $2 US greenback dollars. Appreciate those very much. And they will keep the lights on for several minutes. Thank you very, very much. Others can follow the lead there of Angelic Annihilator. Empty your pockets, bigots. Empty your pockets. It keeps us viable. Yes. All right. Let's move on. Let's find some questions, shall we? Jumping chat window. I really, really hate that a lot, because it means you lose your place. Quite right too, Lukey. The non-liking obliterator beast approaches. So hit the like button if you haven't already, because studies show that the obliterator beast is not as forgiving as you or I might be. Indeed. Rightio. So I think I found my place again. Question part 1. Who says you get 2 parts? You have to empty your wallet to get more than 1 part. Send us all your money. Right, anyway, here it is, part 1. This is a 2-part question. See how the bit after you've put part 1 in brackets there, this is a 2-part. See how that's redundant? But we get it already. All right, what is your perspective on dog nutrition? Should dogs be carnivore? Yes, they are carnivores. Absolutely. Additionally, what are your thoughts on high-end brands such as Purina? Well, the dogs that live with us in this house get muscle meat, fat, organs, connective tissues, and bones in just the right amounts, put together for them by Her Majesty Pim, Queen of the Pirates, all raw, all as it should be, as a dog should eat in nature. Our dogs get no plant material except that which they feed themselves while they're out on a walk eating grass or whatever. Fucking idiots. Yeah. And the small one, You're saying? Yeah, and the small dog in this house, the smaller of the two, is the one that causes all the trouble and gets the other one involved in shit that she doesn't need to be involved in. But she loves to chase swallows. And runs around at 1 billion miles an hour and turns around on a sixpence, a dime, and, is just an absolute nut job. But that's for another day. Anybody feel any differently about dog nutrition? Should we feed our dogs with grains and all sorts of shit that most prepared food's got in it?
No, my goodness, no. Raw diet, muscle meat, just like you said. Bones, connective tissues. And to answer this, what are your thoughts on high-end brands? Stay away from high-end brands. Stay away from mainstream brands. Anything mainstream is probably trash.
Yep. Feed your dog meat, organs, connective tissues, and bone.
Yeah.
Don't feed them dog food. Dog food.
Yeah, no, yeah.
Yeah, I think it is, like Lauren said, it is pretty nutty that we look at this like high-end performance dog food we see in like the supermarkets, like the mainstream stuff. And it's not really high-end. You look at the protein content, it says like protein, ash, fat, whatever it is. It'll have like 2% more protein than the next best brand. You're paying like nearly double the amount for it. I don't think it really warrants the expense. I think you can actually save money by feeding them real food. Just give a pack of raw mints or give them cooked mints, depends what. You'll notice soon enough your dog doesn't like raw mints because it won't eat much of it, but I'm pretty sure it will. I think that most dog breeds can tolerate a higher protein ratio than what us humans can. So, for example, they might eat more chicken thighs than, 75% lean ground beef. That seems to be true from what I've read anyway. But yeah, feed them lots of meat. Can't go too wrong.
Excellent. Very, very good. Lucas has just finished his first 72-hour fast. Good work, Lucas. Awesome. Very good experience. Nice. And it was rather easy for me. Good. I basically had no hunger and felt very clear-headed. Yeah, you often get that on the fasting thing. It's quite meditative. It's quite a communion, to be fair. I've actually reached out to a bloke I found this week, and I haven't heard back from him yet. I hope he does get back to me, but I reached out to a bloke who regularly does 20-day fasts, and I want to get him on and talk to him about that because I think that's very, very interesting. So I do hope that he's watching, and I do hope that he doesn't take us too seriously during the live streams, because we are here for a bit of fun as well as for information. But yes, I hope that he does want to come and talk to us about that.
Yeah. I wanted to say about the dog stuff. My dog, same. He eats grass too when he's out a little bit, which again, he's an animal. He's roaming around. It's very normal. But people who see that are like, oh no, you got to get him checked out. That means that his stomach is, so many people just believe that that's I was like, no, he's actually a mini bison. So don't worry about it. And because he looks like one, so that's what I say. But then secondly, there were these construction workers outside my house and we were out taking a walk and they were eating breakfast with coffee and bagels and they dropped a piece and then they were like, oh, Yuka, do you want some? And I was like, oh, no, please don't let him have that. And they were like, oh, why? Oh, he can't have any human food. And then I was like, no, it's not about dog food, human food, which I think is so crazy to think about too, where people like put them in this separate box as if they're like no human. Oh, you give your dog human food? That's crazy. Like what? But they were just so, I was like, oh no, he just has, he eats food for him, but I don't even eat that. That's not human food, actually. Your bagel, and they were just so confused. What do you mean? What does he eat then? And I was like, oh, he eats raw meat and bones and what he should be eating. And that's actually what I eat too. We get it from the same butcher. And they were just like, what?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. Excellent. What's your thoughts on caffeine? It's awful. I love it, and I have been known to drink far too much coffee in my life. I'm currently on top of my coffee thing much more than I've been for a long time, actually. For me, coffee is a problem in terms of stomach acidity and stomach upset. It's a problem in terms of my essential blood pressure, which goes up 30 points on both ends if I drink over a certain amount. It's disastrous for sleep. And it seems to be quite dehydrating for me as well. It's basically a toxin. There's no place in the diet for caffeine at all. It's a recreational drug. It's a stimulant. It's just nonsense, and you should get it out of your life if you possibly can. Does anybody disagree?
No.
That's
Good. Next.
correct.
Good. Next.
But what is she? My question for her though, or him, is how caffeine pills helped her stomach issues. What does that mean?
Yeah,
I think Doom Slayer's a bloke.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we need. Let's assume that shim, him, her, them attack helicopter is whatever, and suggest that we need more information.
Yeah.
Good. All right. Okay. Question from Robert Wardlow, who's very, very tall and also dead. Still. But that's for another day as well. All right. Is it plausible that EMFs could have a negative effect on sleep quality or circadian rhythms if exposed to them at night? Any mechanistic insights on this? If so, okay, I have an opinion on this, but I will let you guys fight over it, sort it out amongst yourselves. What do you guys think?
I think yes, but you're exposed to them whether you like it or not, unless you live in a completely remote area, far, far, far away from towers or anything. You're exposed to them all the time, not just if you look at your phone or TV, past sunset. So regardless of if you turn your wireless off, if you keep your phone in the other room, you are exposed to them at all times of day. But it will be better if you can find a way to, once sunset is done, no blue light into your eyes. Absolutely. That will help. It will help your sleep quality and circadian rhythms in that sense. But in terms of the exposure, that's kind of nothing you can do about it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, I've tested the EMF output of my phone when it's been switched off, and it still gives off a signal. I think, like Lauren said, no matter where you are, there's going to be an amount you're going to get regardless. I think the biggest, or the bigger impact in terms of EMF is the blue light that you're getting as a result of it, oftentimes.
Yeah.
So I'll probably be looking at, for example, I think listening to a podcast before bed but not looking at the screen is probably going to be better than looking at the screen. The thing we can control is looking at the screen, so we can put the video screen, the display down so we can't see it. We can wear blue blocking glasses, things like that. Mm-hmm. I know Bart and I have had this discussion recently, maybe within the last month probably, and I did ask this question, I think, in a Q&A, but Bart does have a really good insight, which I'd like to hear.
Right.
Again.
Okay, here it is. There may be some sensitivity on an individual basis to EMF, depending on its magnitude, strength, etc., and your individual susceptibility to such being aggravated by it personally, individually. The others are quite right in that it's very, very difficult, if not impossible, to avoid being bathed in EMF throughout the day and night if you live anywhere remotely built up. We are lucky here to live rurally. The nearest cell phone tower is about a mile in that direction over there. So that's good in terms of that, but it's bad in terms of if you actually want a cell signal, because we basically don't get one here most of the time. I have to tether my cell phone to the internet to get anything a lot of the time, basically. So there's that. In terms of the effect on the body, I'm not saying there is no effect. I'm saying absolutely people do display issues, and certainly I agree on the blue light thing. It's far more important than other forms of EMF, I think, because blue light has a direct, plausible and mechanistic effect on melanopsin. That said, EMF, even from 5G radiation, even if you stood about a meter away from a tower for a short period of time, is not going to do you any harm directly. Why do I say that? I say that because the power, if you like, of the EMF from said towers is in the gigahertz range, GHz. the power of any photon or any electromagnetic field, if you like, is determined by the wavelength. And the power of sunlight, the rays of the sun, is in the terahertz range, order of magnitude more than any 5G tower. And we're not saying to people you need to avoid sun. We're saying to people, get yourself into the sun. And that's an order of magnitude more powerful than 5G. So that's the power side of the argument. That does not dismiss the possibility of that particular wavelength being problematic for biology. The gigahertz range of, for example, 5G. Now, I do know that there are several military organizations which use 5G technology as a weapon. However, the power at which the amount of photons that they are shooting out in this weapon is millions of times more than a cell phone tower does. So I think it's one of those things. I mean, do we even bother to turn off our internet router at night? No. We just leave it playing away to itself all night. Do we turn off our cell phones? No. Don't even put them in flight mode. Not that that would make any huge difference. As Jonathan said, you turn the thing off and it's still a signal. So, take it or leave it, really. I'm not 100% convinced one way or the other on any of it. So, there it is. Yes, Lauren.
Let me add one more thing. Yeah, so like it's just a certain frequency that is not optimal and long-term can cause effects in terms of you being a human being, because if you think of, our cells and our beings, we are vibrating at our own frequency as well. So we have our own electromagnetic frequency as well, as does the sun, like he said. So this is where your diet and lifestyle, your thought process, your mindset, the things that you believe and perceive also go into the electromagnetic frequency that you are emitting as an electromagnetic being as well. So it's kind of like you can think of that as in terms of like maybe aura, or like the way that you are vibrating, which has to do with your belief systems and the things that you do and expose yourself to, and that can play into counteracting what's being forced onto you as well. It kind of anime-esque, if in a sense.
Absolutely brilliant. Yep, love it. Yep, and anyone that doubts whether or not we really are electromagnetic beings, well, matter itself is an electromagnetic phenomenon. So yes, we are. Now, Jonathan, sorry, you wanted to say?
Yeah, sorry for interrupting.
Not at all.
You had a question which was with a super chat, which I think we missed, which is Angelic Annihilator asked, take Cerule while fasting to maximize effects.
Oh, you can, absolutely. There's no reason not to. And yes, it would superimpose an effect. Sorry for missing your question, Angelic Annihilator. Sorry for that. Yes, absolutely. Good idea. Because fasting in and of itself will stimulate the release of an amount of adult stem cells by itself. The Cerule product does the same thing, or only more. Obviously, many more stem cells are released by Cerule product than fasting. But you superimpose them one on top of the other, and you'll get an additive effect. I would suggest, absolutely. Yes.
Also, I wanted to show you in terms of blue light. I on iPhones, I think on other phones too, you can change it to on 3. You click the home button three times, and now this home is red light. So if you need to look at your phone past sunset, it's red light, and then you can use our blue blockers too. Because I still believe that there's, due to this being a phone of itself, like you can't take away all red light, but at least you can change that at sunset. Excellent.
Very good. Like it a lot. Like it a great deal. I too avoid the blue light after dark thing. I think that's a very, very clear one because of the melanopsin signaling, the circadian doings. Yeah. How bad is grain-fed beef actually compared with grass-fed? Is Dr. Gumby correct in claiming that lectins stack up in the meat? Lauren, you're first.
I don't know who Dr. Gumpy is, but I believe that statement absolutely. And I think that depending on what you can afford, where you're at in your transition into a human appropriate diet, regenerative diet, then it can't kill you. It would be better than eating a salad type of thing, but or eating a bunch of potatoes. Then this one time I need to have a grain-fed, McDonald's burger with no bread, absolutely. But again, what you need to look at is over time, because it builds up in the meat, and then in turn will build up in you as well. So grass-fed is optimal, what you need in terms of long-term when you can get there. But everything is a transition. You just need to do your best in every moment.
Yeah. Gumby is Dr. Stephen Gundry, who is a well-known supporter of the Church of Anorexia Vegana, and also is a bloke that has some correct things to say, i.e. about lectins, but everything else he has to say is totally incorrect, i.e. that a vegan diet is a good thing, because it isn't still, Gumby. Okay, Jonathan.
Yeah.
How bad is it?
Yeah, so I don't think it's that bad, to be honest. People exaggerate the difference in omega-3 to omega-6 ratio profiles of each. I don't think it's that significant, at least if we're talking about it from that individual nutritive perspective. I think, as well, it depends on where in the world you're coming from. So, for example, I know that most beef here in England is about 75% grass-fed in terms of the food that food that cows are given over the course of a year. Saying that if you're somewhere else, it might be more impactful to make that extra purchase, make that investment. I kind of think now that there's some things that you might be better off investing your spare money on if you have it. Now, assuming you have all the money in the world, by all means, get the organic, grass-fed, super duper stuff. But I think there's probably better things to invest your money in. Perhaps, Bart, you might have a different opinion, but
absolutely.
You sell cereal products.
You bet. If you've got too much money, what you should do is give it all to me. Basically, I'll take it. Second best thing you can probably do with it is invest in as much cereal product as you can reasonably afford and get them down here. Because the power of having a sufficiency and indeed even an overplus of circulating adult stem cell resources in your body, you should never underestimate the power of the cerebral side of the force. Something, I'll complete your training, something, whatever. Yeah, no, they're a great product. You should get into those, absolutely. I similarly wouldn't worry too much about the source of feed that your beef has had. If it's available to you easily and it's affordable and you've got a choice, sure, go for grass-fed for preference. But if you are limited by availability or financial resources in any way, I wouldn't worry about it, because the difference is so minuscule. Really, it's not worth losing sleep over at all, I would say, personally. I'd like to hear him talk about Mendelian randomization.
There's 4 hymns here.
Yes. 1, 2, 3, 4. Ted, of course, is not a him. Ted is a giant of the entertainment industry, and as such, his pronouns are fee-fi and fo-fum. So, I don't know. Right, I presume you mean me by him talking about Mendelian randomization. Here it goes. I'll try and keep it as short as I can. Number 1, Mendelian randomization is not fucking randomized. Is it? Because the samples that you're looking at, the people, are self-selected by virtue of what their genetic different single nucleotide polymorphisms are. And as such, that's not a random thing. That's a specifically selected population, which you're now going to compare to another population, which is specifically selected to not have that particular SNP, or indeed group of SNPs, as it turns out, usually. And as such, you're not comparing apples with apples from the very beginning. At all. often the Mendelian randomization studies are looking at the ones that are of interest to us in this community, are the ones that look at the difference between people who have polymorphisms leading to a higher baseline level of cholesterol or a lower baseline level of cholesterol, and comparing the outcomes of those people in terms of their heart disease under the parsimonious and indeed false assertion that heart disease is somehow causally connected with cholesterol, because it isn't. So the whole thing's nonsense from the ground up. But what you need to do to dismiss any Mendelian randomization is this. Go to the section of the paper where it gives you the demographics of the two populations concerned at the outset before they started observing these people. And other than the polymorphisms that occur that cause the different cholesterol levels, see if there's anything else different at baseline in those two populations. For example, were they the same age? Were they the same gender mix? Were they the same propensity to express things like type 2 diabetes, obesity, and other covariates and collinearities, etc.? And universally what you will find is that the two populations were not remotely comparable at the outset. And as such, the Mendelian randomization tells you exactly fuck all about anything. That's a technical term. You can use that if you like. It's nonsense. It's anti-science. It's propaganda dressed up to look like science. And most people look at such things and come in their pants because they think it's so exciting that people are doing such high-level science, looking at these genes and stuff. No, it's just fucking nonsense. Right, I'm done. There you go. Is there a linear relationship between blood glucose levels and glycation, or would there be a certain limit to glycation damage at a certain glucose level? It's pretty linear throughout the range, I found, Robert. And the other thing you need to understand, if you don't already, Paul Saladino, are you paying attention? Listen, son, for once in your life, I'll tell you something. Here it comes. Fructose is 7 to 10 times more damaging to your cells and tissues than glucose is even. And it's also a linear relationship. So if you pour several hundred grams of fructose down your neck every single day of your life, you might end up suddenly, after a couple of years doing that, looking pretty aged suddenly, I would suggest. Yes, the dog agrees. Mm-hmm. Quite so. Yes. Love it. There you go. I wondered where Ted was last night, Sheena. Was he at yours? All right. I can confirm Ted does come to your house if you don't like. It was scary. I will always like from now on. And so you should. Bigots, make sure you hit like if you haven't already. Ted will come and visit. And he will put on a Eastern European accent when he gets there. And he will say things like, "Don't make us come there, funny man. Look how clever I am. I have come here and finded you." And stuff like that. Very, very terrifying. And things. Okay. Shall we move on? But first...
Singing.
No singing. Invisible penis, invisible penis. This is an invisible penis, and it's an educational song. Invisible penis, invisible penis. This is an invisible penis, and so is this one too. And because we've got two invisible peni, now we can use peni instead of penises, because penises isn't correct English, and peni is. This is an educational song, you know. Da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da, invisible penis, do-do-do. No singing. Right, good. Right, I think I've regained my sanity. Question from the General Luke Gear of the Meat Militia. I've heard certain carb advocates saying that the rice diet could fix metabolic issues and restore glucose metabolism, which ketogenic diets usually cannot do. Any truth to this position? Jonathan?
I'd say to the people that are advocating this to provide a cause and effect study with some kind of mechanism that would take place. I mean, we've got the issue, kind of brings us back to the last question about glycation, which we know will happen. So I'd kind of avoid that, definitely. I don't see the truth to it unless you guys think differently. I'm not sure.
Lauren?
Personally, I say no for many reasons, but my training, Chinese medicine, in old books, there are medicinal diets called congee, which is rice cooked for a long period of time to make it this type of porridge, and it is used for stomach and spleen. We talk about the spleen not as the organ, but kind of as a whole system in and of itself, stomach and spleen issues, deficiencies. So I think to translate that into Western terms, it would fix this type of acidity issue within the body, not just, our stomachs are supposed to be acidic. So I think that this congee as medicine, just for a short amount of time, could help with the pH balance of something that's going on in terms of acid reflux and what have you. And usually an acid reflux type thing is actually a lack of stomach acidity that's causing the imbalance. It's not actually too high of acid. So then in that sense, you could, holistic medicine uses congee, which is a rice diet, for a really short amount of time. And in terms of like the cellular science of that would be really interesting to look into in terms of a study, because I would like to know how to translate that in Western terms. But the way that we explain it in our old poetic books is very, we talk about the 5 elements and yin and yang and stuff like that. But so that's what came up for me there.
Awesome. Very, very good. Okay. The theory, Lucas, is that the theory that these guys are working from is they're working from the standpoint that they are labeling a construct that they've made up called insulin resistance. So first of all, they're making up insulin resistance, which is a construct and not an actual physiological thing. There is no company in the world making an insulin resistance meter. You can't go and buy one. So that's the end of that one in terms of what, is insulin resistance a real thing or is it an idea? It's an idea. The second thing is, once we say the idea exists, the next thing that we need to do is we need to label it as pathological. Insulin resistance is bad. Okay? Very, very bad. Okay? Insulin resistance. Okay? So that's the next thing they do. And then we need to blame the so-called insulin resistance on anything but carbohydrates. So let's pick on fat because that's the obvious thing. And then we say, well, what happens is if you have a lot of fat in your diet, then you have droplets of fat that build up in your cells, and that activates the Randall cycle in such a way as to block out carbohydrates. And therefore, your carbohydrate metabolism is pathological, is what they say. Well, here's my response to all of it. Yes, a rice diet will deactivate the Randall cycle problem that is blocking out carbohydrates. Because the rice diet is very, very low in fat, thus the cells will drain the fat. That will unlock the locks that are locking the carbohydrates out, quite rightly, because insulin resistance is not pathological. It's the Randall cycle doing exactly what it should do. And that will then allow carbohydrate to start flowing through those cells and being used as the source du jour of oxidative energy production. You bet. However, here's the problem. A diet rich in carbohydrates and absent largely of fat is also a diet which is destitute of nutrition required by human metabolism. And as such, if you were to take that diet long term, that would lead you to catastrophic health failure, and it's a bad idea. You shouldn't do that. And when you are consuming the appropriate diet for a human being, which is absent of carbohydrate, basically, and very rich in fat, then who cares about your carbohydrate metabolism? It's not disordered. It's doing exactly what it should do. Actually, you're designed to run on almost entirely fat and use protein for your body structures. Jobs are good, and you don't need any carbohydrate in your diet because gluconeogenesis makes all the carbohydrate you need. So there we have it. Basically, the rice diet is completely unnecessary. You don't need to reverse this insulin resistance at all. What a load of rubbish. Okay. That's my views anyway.
Yep.
And I'm absolutely unanimous on that. I agree with myself completely.
Yes.
Yeah. And so do both of you, because that's the rules. What are y'all's views on managing alpha-gal allergy on a carnivore diet? And Is there a way to reverse it? Interesting. Lauren.
I actually don't know alpha-gal allergy, so this is up to you two.
Okay, Jonathan.
Is it the tick?
Yeah.
Is it the tick or something?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, no, I still got nothing to add.
Okay. Yeah, it can be a real problem. What we're talking about there is a reaction to being bitten by the lone star tick, which leaves a person unable to consume red meat, basically because they now have an allergy to it. Is there a way to cure this? The allopathic medicinal community thinks there is no way to solve this. However, I think there is potentially. Guess what? Get it done. Yeah. Get on the cereal products, because adult stem cells can and do repair damage to tissues, including those tissues involved in your immune system, which are damaged and led to believe that red meat is bad. Okay? When it isn't. And those damaged cells can be encouraged to off themselves and be replaced with new ones according to the original genetic design. That's the theory. That's not a therapeutic claim. I'm just saying I would get on as much cereal product as you can possibly afford sooner than yesterday. Okay. Oh, and also, obviously, in the meantime, you can still eat a carnivore diet, but you will need to avoid red meat until you can get it under control.
Well, there's that too. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. You may need to consider whether or not you need additional iron in the heme iron format as well as a supplement, because you won't be able to get that from white meat. Because the reason it's white is because it doesn't have a lot of myoglobin, which is the heme-containing stuff in there, or one of the different proteins that's involved in that. Good evening to you all. Yes, good evening to you, Ajahn. Good evening.
Ajahn Maya.
Ajahn Maya. Yes, good evening.
I spoke to him 2 weeks ago. Great guy.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Tell us about it.
Very good. He's a proponent of the high-intensity training principles.
Excellent. I like him already. I'm assuming he's a him.
He's a him.
I'm such a bigot to assume such things. Right, question. What is the healthiest form of cheese to add to your diet? Can cheese affect testosterone levels in a negative way? Thanks. Who's first? I don't care.
I like cheese.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's fucking great. I like I like Parmigiano Reggiano, cheddar cheese.
Yep.
We can get raw cheese over here in the UK quite easily. It's not an issue. I think it's great, and I think if you enjoy it, gives you a bit more calcium if you find a benefit from having more calcium in your diet. So yeah, go for it.
Mm-hmm.
Testosterone levels, I don't see how it decreased testosterone.
No.
I can't really see that.
No, I don't see a mechanism either. Lauren, what do you think?
Yeah, I think the best form of any type of dairy would be raw and no to affecting your hormone levels if it's, not processed.
Yeah. Excellent. Good. Lance doesn't like NAC because it can be pro-cancer. But be careful with pro-cancer. That's a cause and effect claim. There is a suggestion that there is a possible mechanism by which it might predispose someone, if you take it long term, but who knows exactly. Right. Good point. Well made. Alrighty. Scanning for questions.
I used NAC before for congestion. I find it quite effective short term. I'm saying that I was using it when I was on a carbohydrate-laden diet, so it probably had more effect than if I was doing it on a carnivorous diet.
Mm-hmm. Yes, exactly. Good morning from New Zealand. Yes, I'm in New Zealand too. Good morning from New Zealand. I wonder whereabouts you are, Kiwi Nurse. Whereabouts in the country are you, regionally wise? I'm in the Tasman region myself. Tell us where you're from. Dox yourself and stuff. No, not really. Just tell us where you're from.
Just hope she doesn't label your address, but that would be quite awkward.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And we're assuming that you're a her. which is very much bigoted of us. I used to have a bloke I used to hang out with quite a bit. He's still a friend, but we don't hang out so much anymore because, whatever. He's a nurse, and he's often asked, how long have you been a male nurse? And he was always answering that question with, well, ever since the operation.
Good.
Yeah.
A nurse is a nurse is a nurse kind of thing, yeah.
Exactly.
God.
And a horse is a horse, of course, and no one can talk to a horse, of course, unless, of course, the horse, of course, is a famous Mr. No singing. It's enough. Goodness. Right, questions. Look up dolphin for mentally healing. It's an air element. It's in the dolphin blubber. Okay. If you say so.
I don't know what's going on here.
I don't either. But I'm just wondering, do you have adult supervision? Have you got your helmet on so you can't lick the windows? I don't know. Maybe English.
Maybe Gemini. I think so.
Yeah. Well, I've met some Geminis and they're all fucking insane. Every one of them.
Also an air element. So.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. I think she peruses some of our friends' channels online and often makes comments like this, and I'm like, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
Maybe English is not their first language. I don't know.
Maybe, maybe.
Does the eating of the gristle, again with the English, does eating of the gristle of fatty meats render the benefits of collagen active redundant? No, absolutely not. And I'll tell you why not. It's this. The easiest way to provide for the most effective synthesis of the most amount of collagen is to provide your body with 2 half collagen peptides in a already fully formed state. Your enteric system cannot absorb whole collagen, but it does have receptors for type 1 and type 3 peptides, which can be put together to make a collagen. And collagen active from the fine folk at Cerule is made from type 1 and type 3 collagen peptides in the fully formed format. If you consume the gristle and stuff of meat, you'll get some collagen, absolutely. You'll get some type 1 and type 3 peptides, but you'll also, you'll tend to, your stomach acid tends to break down the collagen quite rapidly. So, it's one of those things. I don't have a study to point you to on it because it hasn't been done yet. All I can say anecdotally is that since I've been taking the collagen product myself, that I've noticed some things about my body structures and my healing rate and all that kind of stuff. That seems good. Apparently my internet connection is unstable, just like myself. But hey, so if I disappear, it's because I live in a third world country out the back of bumfuck where we're still on copper wire, for God's sake. And we get screaming fast internet here at sort of 70, if you're lucky.
Ooh.
I know, it's incredible. So there we go. It is my opinion that collagen active is a good product to take still, but that's an individual choice. Is it necessary? No. Is it likely to be useful? I think so. And based on my own experience and that of my dear old mum, who has also experienced huge benefit from it, I think. That's not a therapeutic claim. I'd get into it nonetheless. Guys, do you know Safedin Amuse? No, I don't. Get in touch with him. He is big on the political side of the vegan craze and the war against meat. Would love to see a talk between you and him. I have found personally that vegans tend to avoid confronting me like the plague.
Uh-oh.
Have I gone? Lauren says, uh-oh.
I'm losing connection.
Yeah, okay. It's probably at this end. Waiting.
I have lost connection.
Yeah, sorry guys. I don't know if I'm interrupting anyone now because the connection's quite poor, but I'm getting hints of Bart's connection and occasional hints of Lauren's connection. Just to
Right, there it is, boys and girls. There it is. We're having connection issues. It's now self-reconnecting. Okay, are we back?
Yes.
Back.
All right, good. Yes, that's it's probably my internet at fault there, boys and girls. I'm sorry about that. What I was saying before we were so rudely interrupted by the fuckery is that I find vegans in particular tend very much to avoid confrontations with me like the absolute plague. They are universally very, very cowardly in terms of actually confronting someone who is able to deal with their bullshit. But I'm more than happy to talk to him if he would like to talk to me. 10 euros from Marcelo. Thank you very much for the 10 euros. Appreciate those very much.
Yes, very generous.
Alrighty. Now let's find some more questions. Fucking jumping chat window, incredible. Angelic Annihilator has been a member of this fine channel for 3 months and asks, we've already dealt with that one. That's the one that Jonathan pointed out earlier. Very good. All right, the Cyril question, like it. Anyway, congratulations on being a member of the channel for 3 months. Folks that are not members of the channel, you absolutely can become a member of the channel by clicking join, which you'll find right beside the subscribe button on the front page of the channel. And you can join at, I think, about the cost of a cup of coffee or something per month. And that gets you access to unlimited, ongoing access to these live streams, which otherwise get cut off in terms of public viewability prior to the next week's live stream occurring. So 2 weeks ago, as it turns out now, the 2 weeks ago live stream, Lauren's first appearance, is now only available to members of the channel. And it got something like 7,000 views, Lauren. People were obviously impressed with what you did.
Cracking job.
Cracking, yes, absolutely. Yeah, and it was nothing to do with the thumbnail that I put together whatsoever for the live stream.
No, I don't think it is that. I think it is the quality of the content and information within that gave it the
Indeed,
the algorithm boost.
Yes, algorithm. All right, scanning for questions, not seeing questions. Right, Anders, onto the training again. Talking about frequencies, how should I swap my LED? But I'm not training. I was thinking training on frequency. Haha, my bad. He's talking about EMF frequencies. So talking about frequencies, should I swap my LED bulbs for CRI less than 95 ones to get full spectrum light? How important is that? No, I think what you ought to do if you're going to use artificial lighting is to use amber light with no blue in it.
Mm-hmm.
That's what Harry does. I think they're about $30 Australian per bulb, but I'd be doing that if I was going to be playing around with the light bulbs themselves. I don't. I just have normal incandescent light bulbs, and I just put on the amber lenses after dark if I'm avoiding blue light. It's not perfect because your skin still does detect the blue light a bit as well, but it's okay. I think it makes a difference personally.
I had a comment recently telling me to always wear a t-shirt or wear a t-shirt in my videos because otherwise I'm getting loads of blue light. And I was like, yeah, probably. But the thing is, you got to attract attention somehow. But now, obviously, I'm wearing a different microphone setup. So it kind of warrants me having to clip it to something. And I can't really clip it to my nips because that would fucking hurt.
No, Ted. We don't want to see that. I don't care if you do want to see that, Ted. That's not something we want to see here. Goodness. We're not into masochism and sadomasochism and all of that here, are we? Right. Where can I find an organized and comprehensive list of videos of you scrutinizing the methods and statistics of various nutrition studies and exposing their limitations. Old Odyssey videos, perhaps. Yeah, you can do a scan on my Odyssey channel. All 1,500 videos I've ever had on YouTube in the past, which are no longer YouTube suitable because YouTube changed the rules on what they're happy with and not, I guess. They're all still available on the Odyssey channel, and you will have to scan through and find them. They're not under a list or anything, but they are in existence. Many, many fine videos talking about statistics and pulling papers to bits in terms of the nonsense contained therein. Okay, Robert Lustig says, if you don't feed your microbiome, it will eat you. Truth? Partly. Partly. To some degree, during a transition period, if you transition your diet too rapidly, you will find that some of your microbiome will eat into the wall of your colon in order to try and protect themselves and encapsulate and avoid a sudden die-off, really. The best way to avoid such issues is to transition your diet slowly over 6 to 8 weeks, I find. Anything to add, anybody?
No, I just want to emphasize, do it over 6 to 8 weeks if you're coming from a standard American diet. Definitely. Otherwise, you're making it hard for yourself. For every gram of carbohydrate that you take out, make sure you're adding in a sufficient amount of fat, to give you enough energy, so you've got enough substrate to go by. That's my firm recommendation I always tell people.
Yep. Very good. And it kind of leads on to this question as well. How important is muscle protein synthesis for hypertrophy? Well, that's the thing that causes muscle hypertrophy, protein synthesis, you'll find. So how important is it? Very. Want to know the importance for stimulating the muscle every 48 to 72 hours. Yep, that's ideal. The important thing is to get enough rest in between trainings and refeedings and things to allow your muscle to do what it needs to do. You don't impose training on training on training. More is not better in training. Better is better. Any disagreement from anybody?
No, nothing to add really.
Very good. All right,
I can add more to it, but I'll be here for about 25 minutes.
Yes, we are winding down anyway. I think we've had our time usually for the week, and there's still questions coming in, so we'll keep going just a little bit longer before we close off. In the meantime, here's $5 from Angelic Annihilator. Thoughts on PRP injection for joint arthritis? I've heard good results from it. My doctors never mention it. Wonder why. They only want to do surgery. Okay. Spell out PRP for us, Angelic Annihilator. What's PRP? Does anybody know? Do you guys know?
Plasma something.
Rich platelet injection.
Platelet-rich injection, plasma. Yeah. Okay. Potentially. I think that's something that could potentially be useful. Others will talk about stem cell injections directly, which are very effective and great, and also cost about $10,000 a crack. Or, here's another idea. Here's another really good idea in terms of stem cells.
Was that like $45 a month or something like that?
They're about $70 New Zealand, same in Australia. They're about $60 or $70 in the States, 30 or 40 quid. Probably. Something like that in the UK for stem cell supplementation through the fine folks at Cyril. Links under the video, bit.ly/Bart-KAY. Click on that, then at the bottom right hand of that page, there's a link off to Cyril if you want to get some Cyril products into you. They're awesome. They're great. Thank you very much for the $5. Appreciate those very much. Yeah, we will be winding down soon, though. Lauren, sorry, go on.
Joint arthritis could also just, be from diet and lifestyle too. So check out the root cause of what's actually going on, and you don't.
Yes, absolutely, of course. Yep, do sort out the underpinning cause. You bet.
Rule of denomination is very important to minimise cost in terms of the things that you'll be buying. So rule will be very, very, very beneficial if it is warranted, which is probably the case for most, suggested, perhaps useful for most things.
Right, that's the bills paid.
Whenever I have a patient that's coming for whatever issue, my number one go-to is, let's simplify here. Like, what's going on? And it's not about what can I add to this issue happening. It's what can I take away, because it's probably something that I'm doing, seeing, hearing, believing, ingesting that is causing this. So let's simplify and then see how you feel before you start throwing things into your already, full life.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, like my brother, for example, he's got knee arthritis. I'll try and cover this quickly. He could have this injection, it may help him, but when it wears off, what is he going back to? He's going back to his baseline. So if he doesn't change his baseline, his end result won't be a long-term benefit. So like Lauren says, look at it from all angles. See what you can take away or change that you're already doing to make the biggest impact.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. How do we increase muscle mass by eating a proper human diet if we do not exercise more than normal daily activities? Your muscle mass is a training status determined factor, assuming that your diet is optimized and you don't have compromised muscle mass because of your diet. So if you want to increase muscle mass above your genetic ideal muscularity, beyond eating an appropriate diet, you will have to train. That's the only way to do it, I think. Either that, or you can take the gear if you're stupid, or you can try something like epicatogen, which might help a bit, but not necessarily a great deal. I'm not convinced about epicatogen. It's a myostatin blockade agent, for those that don't know what epicatogen is. Might work. You can take things like creatine monohydrate, which will stuff a bunch of water into your muscle cells and make them look bigger. They won't be any more functional or strong or useful to you, but you might look a bit pumped. Maybe you could dehydrate yourself irresponsibly and then you'd look more muscular. I don't know. Those kind of things.
I think training sounds fun.
Training is the best way if you want to increase your musculature, yes.
Yeah.
Right,
Yes.
Does lean weight of the body include the bones for purposes of calculating protein needs? Yes, it does. Absolutely. Yep. There's a lot of protein in your bones, a lot of collagen. So, of course it does. Right, we are at the bottom of the chat window, at least my chat window, which is good. It means we've done our work for the week. We do appreciate your attendance here very much. I want to thank Dr. Lauren and I want to thank Jonathan very much for their valuable time today and their valuable insights, their knowledge, and thank them for being hip to the vibe of the show, because it's very, very important, I find. I hope you've all enjoyed it. I hope you've learned something from it. I do hope you'll consider linking this out on your social media so that ever more people will be aware of the existence of the fun and games that we have here on a weekly basis here in the FAQ Squad. That's what we're calling ourselves now. I've decided we are the FAQ Squad. FAQ, that is, of course. And I hope you'll join us again next week, where hopefully you'll be able to hear us again, and hopefully there won't be too much in the way of echoing next week. In the meantime, you know what time it is. It's time for the national anthems. We've actually got several national anthems here in the Meat Militia. The Meat Militia. By the way, you can get this mug too if you want to go to that link under the bit.ly. You can go there and you can click on merchandise and you can buy this mug. Well, not this one, because this is mine. You can get one just like it. They also come in right-handed version with on the other side. I know I've thought of everybody. I love you all, and there's nothing you can do about it. In the meantime, shall we sing the national anthems? There's a couple of national anthems. We'll sing them both, and that will close us off for the week. Let's start with our secondary national anthem. Invisible penis, invisible penis. This is an invisible penis, and this is the invisible penis song. It's educational, you know, to talk about words like peni when you have two of them. That way we know that the correct way of talking about more than one penis is peni. Here are two of them, and they're invisible. Ba-ba-da, ba-ba-da. Invisible penis, invisible penis. I wonder what we should all have for our breakfast. Well, shall I tell you what we should have for breakfast?
Let's go.
2, 3, 4. Steak and eggs and eggs and steak. That's what you should have for your breakfast. Delicious. Eggs and steak and eggs. Just making sure you heard. We got it. Very good. Thank you for being here. Join us next week when we'll do the same thing, only completely different. Right. Bye for now.
Bye, everyone. Hit
Bye.
like now.
Yep.
Bye.